I view it as like the knowledge base of chiropractic sitting there, right there waiting. Hey everybody, I am Dr. Jeff Langmaid with the Evidence Based Chiropractor, and I am super happy to be sitting down and chatting with Kat, a product specialist over at Jane. If you've been following along, you know I use Jane in my own practice. In my opinion, it is the most seamless and streamlined EHR and EMR out there that allows me to just save a ton of time and my team to be so much more effective in the practice. Today, we're going to highlight some of the key benefits and features that you need to know as a practicing doc to understand how Jane can make a big impact in your practice. Kat, thanks for coming on and chatting today.
Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. So we got a demo site up on the screen right now. Let's dive right in. What is the first thing that you believe chiropractors out there need to understand to see how Jane can make that impact in their practice?
I think I always like to start off on the booking site because booking, if you're booking online, this is really the lifeblood of your business. This is how you're getting people in. This is how they're able to see when you're available and when they're going to be able to come see you. So starting off on the booking site, I'm going to be working with Dr. Marcus here as my example of my chiropractor. And I always like to show how easy it is to find a time for booking. In this case, Dr. Marcus is super open for booking. I can make a selection. And one of the things I really love to highlight for all disciplines is this little "you're not done yet." And where that's going to take us next is into this section. I've set up this clinic because I want a deposit, and deposits, leaving a credit card on file, asking for full payment before the appointment. These are all things that you're going to be able to do with Jane Payments. That is something you have access to with Jane. Okay. So here I've already got a credit card on file, but I'm asking for a $25 deposit in order to secure that booking. Here we go. It's just that extra security that every practitioner in every clinic is going to want to have access to.
On that, I'll hop in with something because I think this is really, really important when, those who pay attention, is old saying in the marketing world. And there really is something to, in my opinion, you can speak to this if I'm incorrect, but reducing no-shows by, having people go through and make that initial payment, it really gets them vested in your practice and most importantly, vested in their health so they get the care that they need. Have you seen this be a way to reduce no-shows in practice over time?
Absolutely. Not only do I have new clinics coming in asking for this specifically, but I'm constantly on the phone with clinics and they are so appreciative of this feature. If they hadn't had it in the past, they see a significant decrease in no-shows. And like you said, that's not only important for the clinic itself, but we are looking to provide people with access to things that are going to improve their health, and making sure they have a stake in the game just brings them out and make sure that they have that access.
Awesome.
So if I come from the booking side, I'm going to take us into more the administrative side so we can see those items. So I'm going to hop into Jane, and we're going to keep the day view a little bit of a secret here for now. I'm going to hop into the larger schedule. And something for chiropractors. Now, chiropractors are one of the largest disciplines that we're working with Jane. So we have quite a bit of an understanding on their needs. And one of the things that is really important for chiropractors is going to be able to move between rooms. They're going to need that staggered booking. So there are so many features in Jane that are going to allow for schedule customization. So you can see I've put together a few different options here. Yesterday, they were working in 2 rooms. Today, they're working out of 3. And tomorrow, they're just working out of 1. Now, very likely your schedule is not going to look exactly like that, but you can see that there are several options for booking, as well as being able to customize the colors of your appointments so that you know what you're walking into, whether that's a new patient initial visit or maybe something more subsequent. If a client has arrived and if a client has actually paid for their appointment, you can see using some of our accessibility features as well with those icons. You're also going to be able to see if a client has no-showed and be able to decide, based on, of course, your relationship with that client, how you want them to be charged in that case. So maybe they're a really great client, you don't want to charge them in this case, or maybe they've done this to you 3 times and you do. So those are all things that are customized and up to your preferences. Now, I can also move into the staff profile for Marcus here. And if I go into their settings for online booking, here's one of those big chunks of things that we can use in order to decide what they're going to be working with. So Do we want their times to be booked sequentially, or do we want that to be 5 minutes? We can go up to 60 minutes. Do we want their bookings to be clustered so they're not working with a giant gap in their day? Jane is making sure that you are booked pretty strictly, and you're coming in and you know that you have a good solid day ahead of you. Maybe you're just starting off and you want to look a little bit busier than you are at the current moment, and you only want to show a max of 6 appointments on a day when maybe you have 30. So these are all things that we can go through, and especially Jane, we have an amazing, if I might say, customer service team, as well as things like account setup consultations where you're going to work one-on-one with the people on our team and be able to get assistance in setting up the clinic.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I can tell you, I live in that scheduling tab as a clinic owner myself each and every day. And it's such a nice tool to be able to see really at a glance, how's everything functioning, right? What's our schedule look like? And I use exactly that. I see throughout the week. I see what things look like. As you said, we have things color-coded, so it's really easy to understand who's coming in, what type of appointment is it at a second's glance, and then to see and have access to some of that payment information directly as well. I found that to be something that it just streamlines workflow so much, because each morning, each mid-afternoon, and then each evening, I can just kind of spot check and get a real feel for what's going on in the clinic and the practice in real time, in a way that makes the, my decision-making, I'm going to say, about the business so much easier when I can see what's the flow of patients, what are we looking like, who's coming in, and what type of visit is that. I found that to be something that, again, it's something I literally am in every single day, just spot checking, what our volumes look like. And it's been critical to understand the business.
Yeah, exactly. And kind of onto that as well, one of my favorite spots in Jane, I'm going to take a look at the day screen here. And I love it because it's just so efficient. When things are just really efficient and they just work well. So this is the day view. And one of the reasons I love it is because this can really be a hub for practitioners. So you're coming in and you can select the appointment that you're working on now. That's going to bring up the charting area. If you press it one more time, it's going to bring up their appointment screen. So if you're the one doing the arriving, if you want to set up reoccurring appointments for this client that you're currently with, if you want to check on the package that they're working with right now, all of these items are accessible to you in one screen, which is so important. You can use it on your iPad. You can take it around the office with you, and you're just connected, which is really important for making sure that you feel comfortable in your day and clients are getting the best care possible.
I think this screen is great. From our doc's perspective, they live in this screen, the day screen more so, and I live in the schedule screen, right? Because when they're seeing those patients day in and day out, exactly as you said, being able to, within 2 clicks, access pretty much everything you need to know of what's going on with that patient is just so important. And again, it helps really become more efficient in the practice when you're able to see at a glance what's going on, as opposed, you're 14 clicks deep, you can't see anything else and you're trying to get out. That just becomes so cumbersome. And that's when things, get lost in the mix. And especially relative to the 2 things that, in my opinion, are some of the most important: what's going on with the patient, some of the highlights of the notes right there, and what's going on the billing. And when a doc can see that, very quickly within literally 1 and 2 clicks, that helps conversations with their own team as well, as you're seeing those patients day in and day out, and then less things slip through the cracks. And that's always something that's, I think all of us kind of cringe at, and we're like, oh gosh, whether it's billing issues, whether it is, getting the notes done issues, whatever it might be, being able to see things within 1 or 2 clicks enables us really to tighten up systems and processes, become more efficient. And ultimately, that is a higher level of service that we are giving to our patients when we don't have heat loss, right? We don't have things slipping through the cracks. So I love it.
Yeah, the user experience is something that we really take pride in Jane. So making sure that you feel connected is important to us. I think another really big highlight for chiropractors, if I go back into the schedule really quickly, let's go ahead. I can book an appointment for us and see what that looks like. So if I'm coming through and I want to book a, let's say, new patient initial visit, and that's going to be with the client that I created, and you can probably tell I'm a millennial by the name I chose, but If you can see here, I wanted to highlight resources. Now, we can use resources in so many different ways. It's really a malleable tool. But one of the main ways that we use resources is if you're working with something like an X-ray, if you're working with, electric stimulation machines. These are things that maybe you have in limited quantity and you're working with an office with several practitioners. We can make sure that they are in the right place at the right time. So I can go ahead and book that appointment. Okay, so I think now that we've been through some of the things in the schedule, how you can customize it for yourself as a practitioner, the efficiency and the user experience, I'd love to look at more of the billing side. And when it comes to billing, we do have an integration with ClaimMD if you're working with insurance, but we do also have on our new plans, we have the Practice and Thrive plans, which are going to allow you to create super bills, even if you aren't working with insurance, which I know is a really important item for a lot of practitioners. But specifically when we're working with insurance, let's take a look at how we can get that set up. So if I go into billing, you can come through and we can see in our unsubmitted folder, maybe these are items that you've been submitting throughout the week. I'm actually going to work out of the draft because that's my personal preference. You can decide where that goes. So maybe you've been working through the week. These are the ones that you're going to want to submit. If I take a selection here, usually it's select all, but I'm just going to press 3 for now. And I go to submit selected claims, it's going to let me know that I'm not missing any specific information that might not make this submittable. So I'm going to take this now and generate those 3 claims. If I'm working with our integration with ClaimMD, those are now with ClaimMD doing everything that they need to do. Once you get your response, it's actually going to funnel right back into Jane, into the remittances area for review. So it takes out several of those extra steps, making this process much more streamlined within Jane. And I've heard great feedback, amazing feedback from clients saying that they love how streamlined it is and how much easier it makes their billing.
Yeah, the thing that stands out to me is really being able to spot check before you're sent in. I mean, that back and forth, I remember back in the day, it was like that back and forth is just like, there's velocity to money, there's velocity to payments. And as business owners, we all have operating expenses, month in and month out, and cash flow, right? Cash is king in terms of being able to ensure, number one, that you're able to, stay in operation, that you're able to grow, that you're able to invest in your business. And if you got a ton of money outstanding because of errors and challenges, and that time delay when that money is being held is just so brutal from a business growth perspective. It can stunt business growth at best, and sometimes put docs into really perilous situations at worst. So being able to go through, click, as you highlighted right then, and see, hey, there's a quick spot check. And if anything seems like it is, this is not going to pass the test when it goes out, being able to address that before you click the button, that saves just so much back and forth and expedites cash flow, which in my opinion, it is critical to every single business out there. So I love it.
Yeah. And something that we've recently released, which was asked for, and now I'm happy to say that we have, is eligibility checks, which amazing. And even if you're not working with ClaimMD, Jane is still really super user-friendly. You're going to be able to download that EDI file and submit it to your clearinghouse.
Nice.
One other area I'd love to highlight is our intake forms, because I know that getting everything signed, all your consents, that's crucial as well. So I'm going to head into settings here. And you can see all these little new banners, which are really exciting, things that we're always constantly improving and putting out. But I'm looking for forms and surveys. There we go. So if I go into my intake form section, you can see there's quite a few here because we're in the demo, but I'm just going to do a new intake form. With the intake form, I always reference it like a pizza. So the general is going to be your dough, the appointment type is the sauce, and then everything from profile fields to consents, these are your toppings. You can kind of take them or leave them and create the form that's perfect for you. So you can label this whatever you need to, if this is a consent form, if this is general health history, and then make your adjustments. So if you'd like to see how long it's valid for, I have some clients who have their consent forms only valid for a week because they want them constantly refilled out. So that's totally up to your preference. If we go into appointment type, then you can decide who's getting this form. Is that going to be for all of your appointments? Do you want specific treatments, maybe prenatal, maybe pediatric, if you're working in those cases? They're going to have a few different questions, and they're going to get a different form. And then credit cards, this is something you can ask for on this form as well. And insurance information. I wanted to highlight this as a part of insurance user-friendliness. That's not a word, but we're going to go roll. If you include this, you can ask for the front and back of their insurance card as a requirement or as an option. These are currently the insurers that I have registered, but you might have quite a few more. And you can make these all required. So plan group policy number, the relationship to the insured, the person's address. So what that's going to do is that's going to transfer into the client's profile and create a policy for you so you're ready and raring to go. And then the next area is the questionnaires. And I wanted to use this space to talk about the template library. We have like over 10,000 options, templates. And specifically, if I go into chiropractor, you can see how many I've got here. And I call this like the Pinterest of Jane because you can see how many have been downloaded by other people. So if I'm using this well-adjusted soap, now there are a few items that we're going to be able to take a look through at first and say, does this work for me? Is this what I really want to know? Once I've decided what that looks like and which one maybe is the best for me, I can insert that. And then I can make changes. So maybe I don't need to know their marital status. I can just get rid of that. I can add on items here at the bottom. So you can really work with the form, but kind of take out a big chunk of the work as well, which we always want. Saving time is the best.
This is a really, really key component. I think for docs listening and watching that might be using Jane already, and this like, oh my gosh, this is such a valuable resource for them, or for the docs out there that have been considering making that change and making that switch, but are timid because of the workload, right? Of that switch. I can directly speak to this. Less than a year ago, bringing Jane on in our practice, this template library was absolutely essential to our ability to get up and rolling super quick, super easy. And then to your point, then we're able to just like dial it in. We basically had like the brain power of the chiropractic profession sitting there waiting for us. Who resonates with, checking things out, who resonates with practice styles the way that we do, right? This one looks super close for this form. We're going to take this from this and then just customize that with just a few clicks to our practice. It enabled us to get up and rolling super quick and super easy. And the beauty of it as well is the timeliness. As more templates continue to become available, you see how they become refined over time, right? So I view it as like the knowledge base of chiropractic sitting there, right there waiting. So for, again, any docs out there, I can definitely speak to this personally. If you've been concerned about, maybe the pain of a switch, the template library makes a world of difference in the ability to get forms up and rolling, to streamline operations. And I'd be hard pressed to say that once you customize from the library, or if you choose to build yourself, but definitely if you customize from the library, not only will you save time, but you're probably going to end up with a better intake form process than you have today. And that to me is awesome.
I love that you said that. That's 100% true. And I love how you brought up folks who are already with Jane and maybe didn't know some features. And one of my favorite things is being on the phone with the clinic and I'm like, hey, have you seen this thing that we can also do over here? And they have no idea. And it's so fun. It's that continuous learning aspect. And any way that we can make life easier is the objective. Our kind of slogan here is help the helpers, which we really try to live by. So something else to point out is once these are filled out by the client, it's going to translate into a chart note for you, so you don't have to go into that intake form and review. It's going to be in that chart space already. You can duplicate, you can add notes, whatever is necessary. But yeah, again, that ease. And lastly are our consents. This has gotten a little facelift, a little bit of a change recently. So we've gotten some extra types of acknowledgements. If you want them to have to agree, that is a must, acknowledge with initials, and a agree or disagree option. Declarations, the name of the actual consent, and you can, of course, remove and add consents at your pleasure, at your leisure, whatever you'd like.
This is fantastic. Kat, I really appreciate you taking time and highlighting some of these key points for chiropractors. And I'll kind of reiterate, I've been just super happy with Jane, utilizing it in our practice, not only from an efficiency standpoint, and I think you've highlighted it today, from a people standpoint, being able to meet great people that are really out there to help me as a chiropractor, as a business owner, help more people, as you said, I think it's a fantastic tenet, and it shows through in every interaction, that I've had. So kudos to you, kudos to the team. And I'm going to encourage, again, every doc listening and watching, if you're a current Jane user, make sure you're connecting with their team and keeping up to date on the latest and greatest. And if you happen to not yet be a Jane user, now is a great time to schedule some time in your calendar to see how Jane may be able to improve the efficiency of your practice. It'll be time well spent. So, Kat, thanks so much for coming on and chatting today.
Thanks so much. And if you catch me on the phone, definitely say hi.
Thank you so much for watching this video on the Evidence Based Chiropractor channel. If you don't want to miss a single thing, please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can get notifications of every video we put out, and we put out new content each and every week. So be sure to subscribe today.